hitting the button, and sweet.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Near Mint Book Club. I'm Mandy. This is Alana. I always forget that it's opposite. Tommy. And then this week we have Mitch GERADS. If you're watching this live, thank you so much for supporting us. We're also testing on Instagram this week. So if there's any issues with that, just let us know or hop on over to our YouTube channel. If you're watching this later, still comment and we will get to those after the stream. So yes, we have Mitch.
Howdy.
And you recommended Batman Universe. Can you tell us why you picked this book?
A couple different reasons. Partly because I still hadn't read about half of it. I'd been reading it when it came out as a Walmart book. And as soon as they announced that it was not going to do that anymore, or rather that it was going to be collected later, I just kind of stopped buying them because they were expensive. They were like, I think it was like $8.99 for an issue at Walmart. You only get the like 10 pages or whatever.
Which we couldn't get in Canada at all. So
yeah, and it's by two of my absolute favorite creators. So I was kind of going through my collection when you said like what we should read, and everything was very dour and serious, and so it was fun to find one that was actually fun.
Nice.
I have questions of what just happened to the screen.
Yeah, it doesn't work with the layout well. We're testing this out, but we have a comment from Greg McCoyne saying, "Woo, piggy butt."
Grid flashbacks.
Yeah, there we go. So
We'll just read
good
out
to
the
know.
comments.
Yeah. Cool. So that's great to know. In case viewers don't know, Mitch is mainly a DC artist, variant artist as well as interiors. He has won Eisner's for Mr. Miracle, in which he did all the interiors and all the A covers, maybe B covers, as well.
Miracle, yeah.
B covers, yeah. He's also worked on Punisher, The Sheriff of Babylon, and he's currently working on Strange Adventures. And then you have your whole other list where he's done pieces for Batman and kind of everything. The Flash, yeah. So if you don't know Mitch, check him out for sure. So I just wanted to jump in and say that. And yeah, cool. Like, yeah. So Batman Universe, he told us why he recommended it. Who wants to talk about their first? Mandy, go.
So as most people know, I'm a big Batman fan, so this is easy for me to jump into. Overall, I think, like Mitch, you said, you wanted something fun, and that's exactly what I felt like it was. It's not the like, I love brooding Batman for sure, like that's why I love Batman, but this is like a nice change of pace, and it felt more like the kind of like fun, cartoony, like I was laughing. There was a lot of times, like so many of the lines were.
Well, there's some great like banter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it at some point, but that's my overall. I very much enjoyed it.
Cool.
Okay, now. Yeah, no, I thought this was great. It reminded me of like what modern day Batman would be if nothing between now and like the '60s TV show happened. You just took that kind of like fun out of Batman, and we're just like, now it's modern. So I enjoyed like every page was great. I have a soft spot for Brian Michael Bendis because I started with Ultimate Spider-Man as like my comic series. So everything he writes, I enjoy for the most part.
Right on.
Yeah. Our non-superhero reader.
Yeah, so I'm notoriously not really like a big two or just like superheroes in general. There are stories that I love, and I would not be a nerd without, Batman animated series, that's for sure. But it did nothing for me. And like I couldn't sit here and tell you a flaw. Like I couldn't sit here and be like, the writing needed to be this, and like the art needed to be this, and there was nothing really wrong with it at all, but it just wasn't good to me. It felt very much like a book for boys, and like boys as a stereotype. It's like talking gorillas and then dinosaurs and then Old West. And then there's also, whatever. And it was just like cool. And I think because I was reading it, I read it all in one sitting today. The pacing of it seemed weird, but I also know that comic books, because they are single issues joining together to be an arc. That does sometimes happen. They need to have a certain amount of action or a new character in each issue. So it's a little bit harder when you're reading it as a volume to feel like it makes sense. Sometimes you're like, you don't need this many cameos. But so again, I'll excuse that. But yeah, it just wasn't my cup of tea.
It's a weird collection in that how it was originally released was in 10-page
First of
segments.
all, spoiler warning to audience. Anyways, go on, Mitch.
It was released in 10-page segments in these Walmart collections. And so like each segment had to be pretty self-contained while moving the story along.
Totally.
So like it does feel very like hoppy, like from this to this. It's like action figure play sets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's honestly, that's what it felt like. It felt like they were trying to sell toys because with the spoilers, each issue or like of the 10 or whatever, like half of them had a cameo appearance by someone decently well known. And even to me, as someone who does not read Batman, I was like, Jonah Hex, wasn't that like a shitty movie that came out 10 years ago? And I Googled it, you know? And I never saw the movie either, so maybe I'm wrong. But, you know, like just as like an outside reader, I didn't have any kind of like nostalgia when like Nightwing showed up and they're like, the duo is back together. But then they immediately say, oh, but I'm going to wear pants this time. And I'm like, that's funny, you know, because Robin doesn't wear pants. So like, yeah, no real complaints, but it's definitely, that's how it felt like that to me. It felt like something written for a format that I was not reading it in. I think depending on the reader, it is either the worst first comic book you could read or the best first comic book you could read.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
For people like me, I would be like, dude, no, you have to Google every third character or like thing, you know. Again, I even know who Deathstroke is. I even know who, you know, I have a general thought of these characters. But, you know, and then, he goes to this planet. And I was like, that's where, like, Hawk Girl. And, you know, like, I'm like, okay, cool. But they're saying all the names, you know, less exciting, I think, to fresh off the boat comic reader. When Batman, it's awesome.
When they were introducing all the different superheroes and they had like the logo.
Yeah.
I don't know why, and this is just me. I just pictured them being like introduced on like an old sitcom and like you'd hear like the laugh track or the clap track behind like that every time I saw that. That's all I could think about. So like
Borderlands, you know how they would like stop the game and then like zoom in and be like boom. Yeah.
Pause time. It was funny.
So we have a couple comments. Chris says to sell the hats, Mitch. So I think he's referring to your posts about the piggy butts.
He's working to make it fiscally responsible.
And then Spells and Monsters, who I believe her name is Kelly. She's one of our Instagram peeps. She said some of it was boring to me. Overall, I enjoyed it though. And then Greg said, in comparison to Tom/Andy Soup's book, I think Tom's decision to make each page a separate scene helped it seem like the reader was getting the most story possible out of the 12 pages. Yeah, I think that's valid. And I think it just kind of depends on your reading style and love for the genre, whether or not it worked for you.
I mean, I loved the book, but I did have one like complaint or like one thought is that at the very end, it seemed like there was an issue missing. There's like a penultimate issue missing because it made a big deal about an issue ending with Vandal Savage saying, I'm going to erase you from history. And that lasted for about a page and a half before a big splash. Like, we all remember you again. And like that should have been like a whole issue of people not knowing who Batman was.
Honestly, I think all of everything up to the egg actually being in their possession was useless. That's what I didn't like. And that was the Gorilla Planet, the dinosaur. Like, that to me, I was like, nothing served no purpose to me. But then, the actual plot, which as like a synopsis, the plot of Batman universe is that there is a Fabergé egg that is stolen by the Riddler. And is worth a lot of money, but then we quickly find out that there's likely something inside of it, or there's something to do with it that is maybe supernatural, maybe alien, maybe there's a life form inside. And so it's Batman trying to find the egg because it's $15 million worth of egg, but also it's like affecting people's intelligence and things like that. And then as soon as he kind of starts getting close to the egg, stuff like time jumps, and like you don't really know what's going on. And so it does jump around a little bit in time, which I thought was quite interesting. But then in the end, and this is major spoilers, so please click away if you have not read it. In the end,
it's been out for a while.
Yeah.
We just make sure.
We've done.
Beware. But in the end, it ends up being a lantern ring, and not even like a green lantern, but white lantern, and potentially the first lantern ring to ever have been made. And I Googled white lantern because I remember reading Darkest Day and Brightest Night like in high school. And I know that each lantern corp group, each color is a spectrum relating to an emotion. So I was like, what does white mean? And it literally is just like life force. So I think I read that it's potentially it is the strongest, or is either that or the black rings are the strongest. They're all life kind of thing. So
but Batman is really cool. I like to.
Yeah, Batman becomes a white lantern. And has all these
cool.
Well, let's talk about how
so cool.
gorgeous
Where's
the
my-
book is.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hold up the page where there's like the Batman, like when I Am Batman page. Does anyone have that handy?
Oh, I love that too. Ooh, I'm good. We're fine.
I just like it's very colorful, and I feel like that's very fitting to the story, right? Again, a lot of Batman stories, you get a lot of like the dark pages, and it's just like a lot of blues and blacks and stuff. But
well, and that's so the last Batman we read here, and the last Batman I read was Batman Ego, and it was very dark and very shadowy, but like on purpose. And a lot of the other stuff. You found it?
This one?
Yeah, that one.
I like that one.
I was very.
I would buy this as a print.
Oh, I love that one,
love
man.
that too.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Chris shouted that out. Chris in the comments said that was a good page. We agree.
Yeah. I mean, splash pages, I think I always am wowed by, which is the point. So they're doing their job. But those two definitely, the I Am Batman, I just thought I heard, what's his name? Christopher Nolan's. Who was that guy?
No.
Christian Bale?
Christian Bale, yeah. Wasn't that a Nolan film, though?
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan's Batman.
It would have been a
That
very
Batman.
good movie if Christopher Nolan played Batman.
If he was Batman.
He would, though.
Isn't he always one of those guys that puts himself in it? I don't know.
He was
Okay, so I'm not as familiar, obviously, I guess, with Green Lantern as Alana is, but I appreciated that they were not, I mean, aside from maybe the Riddler, not the usual crew that you see in Batman stories. And even the comment from the lady that she's like, what are you doing here? Joker's not here. Like, I loved that because it is, you get a Batman story and you get Joker somewhere in there because they're just they're one and the same. So I thought that was kind of cool. And again, like I wouldn't have imagined that in this egg was this ring. Like that's not at all what I would have thought was in there.
Yeah, no, I didn't see anything coming. Like,
no,
every page turn was a new thing.
When he says that when he's telling Alfred, he's like, it's something alien, and Alfred goes, you know that I hate that. I was like, oh my god.
The Alfred banter in this book is the best.
Perfect. Yeah, I love that.
So
Right
good.
from page 1, I was like, oh my god. I mean, I love Alfred. He's always been a favorite, but the banter was kind of like, that perfect mix of the humor, I think.
That
and
like dry English humor coming right through the page. Yeah.
Yeah. That was cool.
If I
And
find
if
out,
you're a Young Justice fan, Bendis's other book, it's the first appearance of Ginny Hex.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was wondering. I hadn't heard of her.
I was wondering if she was a character or not. But yeah, sorry, again, spoilers, but this is the White Lanterns. It's just so cool, I thought.
But there's the one page with like his cape, and it's like see-through.
It's rainbow. I mean, you can kind of see it here, but how the colorist did it is stunning. And then later he goes into the ring, and it's that colorization. It's just very well done.
Now,
this book is very well done. I mean, I cannot like a lot of it, but it's not poorly done at all.
the Batman White Lantern, was that something that Nick would have designed on his own, like, or has that been in something before? Okay,
no, that's
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I was like, am I missing some other alternate reality where Batman is also like?
There is like the Flash. The Flash is a green or a lantern. I don't think he's green. I think he's whatever. Like a lot of these characters have gotten a ring or a lantern at some point, and then either the ring determines or you determine. I don't really remember, but it chooses your most whatever quality. So like Starfire, I think it's love. I think the purple ones are love. Green is, I think, honor or something. Will, yeah. And like blue is knowledge or something. Like each one on the spectrum and like relates to one of your traits. So the idea of the white being just like life itself kind of makes sense. But yeah, most superheroes. I mean, I don't know. Like, would Superman be a a lantern? That seems too OP. Maybe Mitch knows.
I don't think you would need it.
No, right? Like he already has everything. We have some comments. Christopher said, we all need to agree that the Batman Nightwing infiltrating the submarine 2-page spread is great. Agreed. I had that one pulled up. It's just a good moment for sure. Greg said, I really loved the opening where all the panels are from Bat's first person perspective. It took me a moment to realize I don't think I've seen that in a Batman book. Felt super fresh. And then he said that the Flash is a blue lantern, which equals hope. So there you go.
Should have are wrong. Flash equals blue plus hope, which does not solve them for X, but we got it. We figured it out.
Yeah. We're good. Cool. So I guess, was there any kind of like complaints? Did anyone have any? I think pacing, right? Pacing might have been the only thing.
I get it from your side, Atlanta.
What?
Just stop trying to get it.
I'm so sorry. I'm so grumpy. No, but I agree with Mitch. I think that they could have played out the final bit. That was the most interesting bit to me, and it just kind of seemed short.
The ending worked really well. There just was no penultimate moment. It went from big to big.
When they revealed Bruce Wayne with Deathstroke, I really thought he was John Wick for a second.
Okay, no, I googled it. And they're like now there's like some there's articles about how now Batman in some alternate reality is John Wick, and I was like, I love this.
That's all nonsense, but I legitimately thought about looking up, does DC own the rights to John Wick comics?
Before I did the page turn, I just thought it was Nick doing something in the background for
just
fun.
a little one in the back. Yeah.
Just a tiny John Wick.
I did too, and then you see the big one. I was like, oh my god.
It was basically him, but I kind of got excited. I was like, I was the last cameo I expected, but I was here for it.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
I mean, I was rushing through too, so it wasn't until I realized that the guy was like, "Are you Bruce Wayne?" that I realized that I went back and was like, "Oh, I missed that he was forgotten out of time." Like I had to go back, so that page exists in the middle. And I was like,
that's where I'm saying there's
a DC character? Do I not know this?
It must
have that. He just does everything.
I like to think there's an issue hiding
in
Walmart somewhere that has all that scene.
Yeah, they forgot to collect it.
Yeah, they just forgot. It's fine.
Greg said, "Is Batman as John Wick just the Grim Knight?" I don't know who's the Grim Knight. Anyone? Crickets.
Greg, can you leave a second comment where you explain?
Yeah. We're all fake nerds here.
Moon Knight? Isn't that the world we're living in?
I don't know. He's kind of I guess he's kind of Moon Knighty.
That's what they want for the movie, or
right?
Fans want.
Does anyone know where they sold these? Were they in the book section or with toys? I can really see it being the perfect way to bring in new readers, especially if it was next to toys. That's from Christopher Nash.
Notoriously hard to find because it was next to the Pokemon cards.
I mean,
So in the toy, but not the toys.
No, because of something with licensing, they could only have their display where the trading cards were, and they couldn't have it near the books or the toys.
Because in Canada, the trading cards are with the toys.
Okay.
They're like a little, because we probably have way less than you guys do. It's like half of the aisle, and the rest is like you get into the boy toys, basically.
In America, the trading cards are like their own weird little aisle in the very, very front of the store.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, I don't know where they are.
There's Dunwick.
You'd obviously go to where the magazines are or the toys. And, you know.
So they were at the till or near the till?
Kind of.
But like,
this
when you would
weird
find
little
Archie?
aisle
Like, do you ever
just
see Archie
trading
at the
cards.
till? Or is that Canadian?
What's a till?
They have magazines.
like the checkout counter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's always Archie digests at
Yeah.
every checkout counter for like Walmart and
Yeah,
the grocery stores.
The baseball cards
Greg,
are like, you know, like there's like candy and gum right next to the register. Like you're like, oh, I might grab this.
Yeah.
They're farther away from the register because you probably have a kid with you who's gonna sprint away because they get bored.
Yeah.
The idea is that they catch them like they catch with gum. So the kid's like, oh no, I want this, and the parent has to grab it because they're leaving.
I mean,
Just no idea what it is.
Greg
But this
said
is
that
the main release, I don't think. Sorry, Alana.
just the Grim Knight is Scott Snyder's Dark Batman from his Batman Who Laughs story, which we have talked about, but I don't think any of us have read. And he noted that it's basically just the Punisher plus Batman. Isn't the Batman basically just Punisher? Like they're both vigilantes that beat people up.
Well, that hurts.
That hurt.
No, but like,
Oh,
I mean, the Punisher, isn't he more like an anti-hero than a hero? But they're still vigilantes who beat people up according to their own morals and justice. They're not to do with the police.
Batman is still more on the
With
hero
guns.
side, where I feel like Punisher is more on the like Deadpool, like anti-hero, like he's in the I can't think of the word.
Like he serves like on the scale of like, you know, lawful, chaotic, whatever.
Yeah, he's like the
Like Batman's more like a lawful or like or chaotic good or something, and Punisher's more like neutral, like self-serving.
way more self-serving. I
Yeah.
guess.
Punisher's basically a villain that also takes out other villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is yeah. That's why I said I was like I'd compare him more to someone like Deadpool, I would think, but
He's like Dexter, but like not as endearing.
but not
That's
as cute. I mean,
Well,
he doesn't have that Dexter shirt.
Can we go back to reading Snot Girl?
I read Snot Girl. It's great.
I love Snot Girl.
Yeah.
We have
Cool.
to get Alana out of her comfort zone and make her read superhero comics too.
You guys have to read my shit too, then.
We are reading manga in a couple weeks.
Yes.
That's out of my comfort zone.
It's Attack on Titan. You'll be fine.
It's
I'm
probably,
reading Superman. Come on.
Ooh, that's out of my comfort zone too. That's funny. I just realized too, we're like both the Walmart books.
Oh, was the Superman Up in the Sky also?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool to see what DC is doing with all their different, you know, like Black Label and then putting it in different shops and stuff. Because I mean, when I was growing up, and I mean, we had the internet, I'm not that old, but like it wasn't really like easy to find information. And I wanted to be a comic book nerd, but like no one in my life was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to Chapters, which is like our Barnes and Noble, and I would go to the magazine section and they'd have like 4 single issue comic books. And like that's what I would buy because I didn't even know there was such a thing as a comic book shop. Like I had no concept of that because the people I was around and the people that raised me didn't go to them. So to me, I was like, books at a bookstore, that makes sense. And then it quickly became like not feasible. And that's where I went to webcomics, which is probably why I'm more comfortable with indie stuff, is because I was reading webcomics until I had money and could go to the shop. And then I'm like, I don't like this Batman guy as much as I thought I would.
He's so sad all the time.
I'm so angry at, I'm so sorry.
This is like indie Batman. This is like if Batman made like an acoustic indie album, it'd be this comic.
There you go.
That's exactly what this is.
This is Decemberist Batman.
Well, then I don't like it.
So
It's like I like the Smiths, but I don't like the lead singer when he's by himself. What's his name? I was saying this to Mandy the other day. I like hear one of his songs and I want to like shove. Yeah. I want to like shove a screwdriver through my head, but then I hear the Smiths and I'm like, oh, I like the Smiths. It's like, yeah, I like Batman, but no.
You like the Justice League more? Is that what you're...
I like the cartoon.
Okay. Sorry.
I do like the movies. No, and I loved the Bruce Timm ones when I was younger. And then I liked, yeah, I mean, it was around the time that the Christopher Nolan ones were coming out is where I was like, I can see these people being my people. How do I find my way in here? And that's where I started going to like the bookstores, and it didn't work.
I remember watching the cartoon, or not the cartoon, the TV show, but it was, I'm not that old, so it was obviously reruns. But I remember watching that. That's, I think, was my first Batman with Adam West.
The 60s, yeah. I mean,
I had the same with you, Alana, though, I grew up in a really small town, too, so there's like, we didn't even have a grocery store, let alone a comic book shop. But there was some, like, convenience stores that had, like, a spinner rack. But it still was mostly, like, Archie, not the digest though, but like I remember there being like Cheryl Blossom spin-offs and things like that, or like Sonic the Hedgehog. You could get those comics there.
Yeah.
Like more kid friendly, I guess. That's what was at the convenience stores. But so that was kind of where I started too.
Well, and that was same with me. And I think the reasoning, which is smart, is that like I only had a few dollars, and so I could buy those, which were single issue. Whereas the older you get, the more like 8-year-olds are not collecting omnibuses. Is that your son?
Yeah. It's bath time. He's not handling it well.
Last week I had my dog whining in here, and then I had Jackson knocking on the door, and I was like, oh, what a mess.
Next week, Tommy's just going to start crying on stream.
If we talk about Twilight more, I might.
Back to Twilight.
So, Mitch, have you seen Twilight?
Oh.
We'll turn this into the Twilight talk.
I mean, I'm down. I'll do it a different day. Twilight Tuesdays.
It's fine, I guess.
I just know they're sparkly.
They are sparkly.
That is most of it, not as much as you'd hope.
Yeah. So other than Batman and Superman, what other Walmart books were there? Was it just the two?
There's been a lot now.
So are they still doing it? Can you still get?
I think so, but I don't think there's. Oh, maybe I might be wrong. I don't think there's original tales in them anymore. I think it's just collected. I could be wrong because now they're doing all the original stuff as digital releases. But I mean, there's been Flash and Swamp Thing and Justice League and Harley Quinn.
Did they all get collected after, like these ones?
No, I think these are the only two that have gotten like hardcover collections so far. But I know I've pre-ordered the Flash one, so I know that one's coming out.
Okay.
I went to the comic book store today, and Superman Up in the Sky, they had back issues. I didn't realize it was any different than anything else. So I just glanced at them, but they look exactly the same. So really, was it just that there was an exclusive seller? Like, was it a Pop Funko kind of thing where it was like, here's the other stuff, and then also Hot Topic gets their version?
Well, so the history of these books is, so Walmart had them as exclusives to start off with. And it was only 10 pages, I believe, in a like 100-page book. The rest was all reprint stuff. And that was a monthly release. But then I think maybe the contract ended or something, and then they started releasing them at comic book shops with 2 of the Walmart stories in one. And so those all came out then in comic shops, and then now the collection.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense because I think they had 6 issues. So I could have bought each individual issue, but I don't really buy single issues anymore. So I was just like, I'll read it digitally. We have some comments. So Chris remembers that there's Simpsons comics at those spinner racks at Chapters. Greg has a question. Mitch, when you were creating your publisher run, what stories / series, Punisher, yes. What story / series served as your Bible on the character?
Punisher questions are tough for me because the first thing out of my mouth is something that Punisher fans never like hearing. And I don't really like the Punisher, and I didn't really then either. We were offered the gig after I had done The Activity at Image, which was a military book, like a special operations book. And they basically came to us and said, will you do this at Marvel with the Punisher? And so basically our whole take on the Punisher was just trying to make him a special operations military guy again within the within the Marvel universe. So yeah, I mean, I really like a lot of the Garth Ennis stuff on its own and all that, but I don't have like a huge appreciation for the character.
Did Marvel give you guys some leeway with that then? Like, how much of it was trying to be canon and how much was it trying to, like, so did you need a Bible? Did you need like a sheet of here's what you can do and what you can't?
No, it was at a time, it was during the, what was it called? New Age of Heroes or New Marvel Now, that's what it was. And they basically just left us alone. Like, I don't think we ever had one editor note. We just kind of went and did our thing. Yeah.
Crazy. It was like, get the name right, get the costume kind of right, like, you know, put the skull on it and go.
Pretty much.
Cool. That's really fun. I know that happens a lot with creators, especially at the beginning of your career. I think, and Mitch, you may attest to this, but when I work with a lot of artists at shows, people will come up to them and say, hey, can you look at my portfolio? And like, I want to be just like you. And one day I'm going to draw/write Spider-Man. And all my creators that I work with are like, well, but like, if that's the only thing you can write or can draw, like, you're not going to get work. You don't get to pick and choose until you're at a certain level. And I've heard that from so many people. And I know a few writers that it's like, all of a sudden, like, one of the publishers came to them and they were like, do you have something you want? Like, or here's a list and you can choose from it. But even you could be like the top selling author, the current hit artist, and you don't really get to pick. Artist, at least maybe you can do a variant or be like a guest on some interiors. But yeah, like, that makes sense. Like, Punisher is a huge name, sure, and there's tons of fans, but it makes sense. Like, that you're not always going to love what you're doing. You know?
I mean, I've been lucky, especially, I mean, after Punisher at DC with Sheriff is something that I really wanted to do because Tom called and pitched it to me and stuff. And then from Sheriff, then we got to do some Batman, which Tom was already working on Batman, so that was my end of that. Mm-hmm. And Batman was, you know, like my top dog that I wanted to work on. And then from Batman, we went to Mr. Miracle, which was another one that I wanted to do. But again, Tom and I pitched it because we had a different Batman book that got taken away from us. Right. And so basically Dan DiDio at the time was like, well, what do you guys want to do? It's like a constellation. What do you want to do? And so we came up with Mr. Miracle, and Strange Adventures was something that Tom and I pitched. And so I've been lucky in that, like, our pitches have been successful, and a lot of that has to do with Tom's influence at the company. But I mean, for the most part, you're kind of just given your options. You don't really get to, I mean, they'll always ask you, like, oh, what do you want to? And everyone says Batman and Superman, and no editor hears that when you say it. So you've got to name something a little more obscure, and then they're like, oh, okay.
So yeah, Mr. like go in with a list. Sorry, Tommy.
I was just saying, so that means Mr. Miracle was just the constellation things you guys did?
No, well, kind of. In a way, it is. So
I think it worked out pretty well for you guys.
Yeah.
In the end,
so the War of Jokes and Riddles, which was an arc in Tom's Batman run, was originally a out of continuity 12-issue thing that Tom and I came up with.
Gotcha.
It was going to be our Long Halloween or Dark Knight or whatever, and it got greenlit. And then, like, a couple months later, as I was still wrapping up Sheriff, we were told that, hey, or someone called Tom and they're like, man, we reread the War of Jokes and Riddles proposition. We love this. Let's put it in the main Batman book. You know, like, the problem with that is we can't fire McKell.
Yeah.
So Mitch is out of a job.
Oh.
And then Dan called Tom and was like, whatever you guys want to do, just pitch it to us. And Tom called me up and he's like, it's the funny story because it sounds so fake. He calls me up and he's like, man, I have some bad news. Like they took our Batman book away from us. They want it in the main book. And I was bummed. This was going to be my thing. And he's like, but they'll let us do whatever else we want, whatever you got. I've got a couple of pitches I could give you right now. And I was like, Tom, other than Batman, the only other DC character I would want to do is Mr. Miracle. And Tom's like, what? I'm like, you know, Mr. Miracle. He's like, no, I know Mr. Miracle. He's the guy I'm calling to pitch you. So it was like total
fate.
Serendipity, yeah. That's crazy. And that's so good. And I mean, I think that Mandy and I believe in the universe and like the universe provides, which is really dumb. But
we got it back in Batman universe.
I wrote Mr. Miracle
Batman
on my visual
universe.
board, and then
yeah, but like honestly, and the thing is that you and Tom will work so well together. It makes sense that you'd have commonalities in like your creative process. And I think stuff like that is why you continue to be successful and why you continue to want to work together. Because I mean, it is a big world of comics. You often people don't keep working together, and you guys do. And who knows? I mean, you know, but like, who knows how much of that is your choice? Are you fighting for it? And how much of that is, hey, we have this pitch and it goes well because we both are thinking of it.
Yeah, I think at this point now we've pretty much solidified ourselves as a team that if we want to keep going forward, we can.
Yeah. You're the Capullo, Snyder, and the King and GERADS. I mean, partnership. I know. What do we have? Well, you probably can't see much at this point. I will ask anyways. Is your next project going to be a similar length to Mr. Miracle and Strange Adventures, or longer or shorter?
I mean, I have no clue what the next thing is. I'm still halfway through Strange Adventures, but I think the 12-issue format is a thing that both Tom and I really gravitate towards. Like, if I could choose any format to work in, it would definitely be 12 issues. So I'm sure whatever we come up with next will be pitched the same.
Cool, great answer.
Is it nice to have a break from the 9 panels?
It's been pretty wonderful. Though right now I'm doing, so aside from Strange Adventures, I have 2 other Tom King Batman projects I'm working on that haven't been announced yet. But one of them is like all 9 panels. So back to it.
Classic.
Please don't give us.
His new Strange Adventures script is like all 9 panels. So he's doing it to me again.
I mean, I saw one in this Batman universe that was like 15 or so, like it was even more than 9. And I literally just went, oh my God, what if Mitch had to do this with Mr. Miracle?
For every page?
Yeah, or like every other page. Crazy. We have a few more questions. Chris also said, any chance you might have something announced at DC Fandom, or is it way too soon?
Yeah, wouldn't it be way too soon? Yeah.
And then Greg says, did you draw anything for Atomic Knights as a backup when you and Tom were creating the pitch for Mr. Miracle?
No, that was the other. So Tom King had Mr. Miracle to pitch me or Atomic Knights, and I had absolutely no clue who Atomic Knights were. And then I looked it up and I was like, well, I definitely don't want to do this, so we'll stick with Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
It's literally just a bunch of guys in armor driving around on giant Dalmatians.
Should have done that.
You lost me and then you got me. Oh, do we have a little Wes cameo?
Hi, Wes. Hi.
Those are my friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
He says, I just was tortured in the bathtub, Dad.
Oh, I don't even think he's made it to the bathroom yet.
My life is the worst.
You want to talk about Batman with Daddy? No? Okay.
Lana,
Sorry about this.
We do have another comment,
Sure.
and it says, talk about Taylor Swift, and then somebody with an arrow pointing to it. So the aforementioned Taylor Swift. How much do you love her new album?
Oh, it's so good.
New.
Honestly, Lover is the best Taylor Swift song. I can't get enough of it.
That song.
See, I love False God. The sax in it. Ooh. Ooh.
So I liked Taylor Swift, but then I watched that newer doc, Miss
Americana.
I was like above and beyond.
Yeah.
Jeez, this girl.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I can't. I love her so much. Both Mitch and I were in like the top 2% listeners of Taylor Swift in the world, like at over 80 hours of listening in 1 year. So we definitely are fans. It's just always on in my head, so I might as well just have it on. Chris asked for favorite Taylor Swift song. So everybody go and say their favorite Taylor Swift song if you can think of one. I can't choose.
I have one. I think it's I want to say it's obvious but not obvious, like, because there's objectively the best one, which is All Too Well. That just is the best one. And you guys can fight me if you want, but All Too Well is the best one. I'll write in the chat.
I'm that person where I mean, I have like maybe 5 songs that are my all-time favorite songs in general, but then otherwise I feel like I'm just timely. But like, I would say probably Lover. But if I thought back to like older ones, I'm sure I'd pick something else. But
Have you ever heard the song All Too Well?
no, Tommy. Why don't you sing us?
I got a piano over there. Hold on.
Perfect.
I do love All Too Well. I don't know if I would ever have said that was the best one.
Because you weren't thinking about it. You forgot about
right.
it. You remember now. And
I do remember.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I think Red is amazing. I think everyone thinks Red is amazing. Halsey stole Red basically for her song Colors, and I still love them both. I'll listen to them back to back. Yeah, I love False God. I mean, I just love all of them. Even though
you're gonna say All Too Well, I can tell.
All Too Well. I'll say my least favorites are like Gorgeous. Look What You Made Me Do.
I didn't like that whole album like before Lover.
Oh, I loved it, except the 2 songs I hate. I can't stand Gorgeous. I think Gorgeous is like a problematic song. I can't stand it.
I watched a video on YouTube. I don't know why. Of this guy rating. First, he rated every Taylor Swift song on each album by his favorites, and then he voted, or each album, and he put what was the last album? Not Lover. Before that,
Reputation.
Yeah.
That one is like number 2, and I was like,
because like Dress and Delicate and King of My Heart, like some of those songs are some of the best songs she's ever written, for sure.
The biggest problem with Reputation is releasing that one song as the first single.
Yeah.
Yes.
It painted the whole album in a way that people weren't ready for. If that was not a single, I think that album would have went over much better.
And I think, I mean, I don't know her. I don't know the conversation that went into play, but typically that first song released is very much from the record company, not from the artist.
Yeah.
They get no say. And so even probably that inclusion on the record, I'm going to bet wasn't even her choice, because it doesn't sound like anything else on it. I think that she probably didn't even write that necessarily, or wrote it and just like was fucking around. And then they're like, you need to have that because it's going to cause drama and it's going to sell the album. Which it did, but yeah, it's bad. Mitch, what's your favorite or one of your favorite songs?
Oh,
Can you think of it?
like I said, my number 1 is Lover. I think that's an amazing song. Yep.
The internet says of all 153 songs, Cruel Summer is 3. I like that. New Romantics, I do love New Romantics.
That's a good song.
2. And number 1, All Too Well.
Geez.
I'm not even kidding.
That's correct.
Isn't that like
It is so
always
good.
the number one song?
It's deserved.
Wow, Tommy, way to be basic.
I'll die on that. I don't care. It's worth it.
But like Blank Space is how I like see myself in my head, like fashion wise. And like Style is one of the most beautiful music videos of all time. Like it's just anyways. How does the tone of Batman universe compare to DC superhero girls?
Don't bring us back into the conversation.
or we can go to favorite Taylor Swift acting role and why is it her role in New Girl? We can do either one of those.
It was not Valentine's Day, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'll do the Lorax. I think it's the Lorax, actually. She shined in that movie.
Okay, back to DC here, superhero girls.
I think someone knows that I've been watching it daily with my boy.
Jackson likes
a good show.
Comics. Jackson really likes their comics.
Yeah.
I don't think we don't have cable, and it's not on Netflix, I don't think.
It's on Netflix now. It just came on Netflix like last week, I think.
I'll check. I have a VPN, so I can get US Netflix, worst case. Be much better than the weird shows Jackson's been watching lately.
Yeah, he was telling me about one. Oh, that kid.
He likes these. Loves anime, and that's fine. But he finds the most obscure, really, really badly made animes, and watches them, like Dinosaur King or something. And it's bad. It's so bad. That, or we just watch Power Rangers every single episode of every season ever, and it's a lot.
But you said that he found Cardcaptor Sakura, so
he watched a bit of that. He likes anything with the magical girls. He likes those. So there was some other one. I don't remember.
Don't let him.
Girl. Sparkle.
Yeah. Don't let him watch Madoka yet, but Sailor Moon's fine.
Hey, comments. What's your favorite magical girl anime? Leave a comment.
The one with Taylor Swift in it.
The one with Taylor Swift. Their finest acting role.
Greg said that he digged Taylor Swift's cover of September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. Same. I love disco and I love Earth, Wind, and Fire. So, of course, I love Taylor Swift singing it. She also did another cover that I was listening to the other day, and I was like, she's just the best, man. She's just the best.
Tommy, are you actually typing this, or is this your girlfriend in the chat as Tommy?
No, that's me. My girlfriend is actually in the chat as Kristen. We got her. She's watched every episode, and she finally left a comment.
I was like, you.
Oh, she did. I missed it. Sorry, Kristen. She said, "Let's talk about Daylight." Oof, Daylight.
Good song.
You brought the conversation to cats, and I don't know why. That's all. I was just checking.
Because that's his favorite role of Taylor Swift.
Ugh.
I hate cats. I hate Andrew Lloyd Webber. I can't handle him.
I used to love cats when I was a kid.
Yeah, because you love Phantom of the Opera. It's the same composer.
Yeah.
You probably love fucking Joseph and the Technicolor or whatever.
I did though. That one too.
It's all the same composer, and I can't stand it. I think Memories from Cats, and then the main song from Phantom of the Opera are his two best. But this is not a conversation about musicals, unless we want to talk about Hamilton. I mean, we could talk about it.
You're gonna alienate all of our Andrew Lloyd Webber fans.
I know, right?
At this point.
Well, and then I saw my favorite book of all time is The Little Prince, Le Petit Prince, and there was a musical adaptation of that was like put on like locally, like it was big stage, but it was local. It was very strange, and it was by Andrew Lloyd Webber's son. And this was like at the start of my learning about musicals and knowing what I like journey. And it wasn't good. And then now I'm like, see, the whole family, I've got opinions, guys.
They ruined your two favorite things, cats in that book.
I hate
cats.
I love cats, but I hate cats. Like Jan. You're rich. Cool. Anyways, this has been a nonsense couple minutes here. Let's just go circle back to the book for our last 10 minutes here. So we always like to talk about like if we learned anything or any kind of like symbolism from this book. Is there anything that we noticed that we thought was done well in like a literary sense?
Cue Tommy, our English major.
Yeah.
Oh, this was not literary at all. I mean, that was the good part about it, I think, in the end, because especially now that I know that it was like a 10-page kind of thing, this makes absolutely perfect sense. I didn't know that before, and I thought it was just like normal issues. But I think that what he did in this was use the space that he was allotted as well as he possibly could have. So every single time he picked it up, I think another part is that he knew going into it that most people that picked this up in Walmart would be like kids who just wandered into that aisle or people who were just kind of casually walking through. So I think that's kind of the extent of why every single section is its own crazy, unique adventure for Batman. It felt like I was watching like a TV show and like it was just like one season of it.
For
like
me, it very much reads as like the adaptation of like the coolest Batman video game that was never made.
Yeah,
like a Batman video game that they made in like 2004.
I was gonna say, I was like, it's early 2000s.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see the Clone Wars, the original cartoon? And it was like 12 minutes. That's almost what it felt like. And they would play like 2 at once. So you get 2 mini episodes. That's kind of what it felt like for sure. And that was early 2000s too.
There's
so
a lot of kids shows back in the early 2000s. It was like half an hour long, but it was cut into 2 episodes.
Yeah. You're like, all right. They still do that with some kids shows.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, I would agree. There was nothing crazy like symbolism wise. I think the best part of the writing was the humor, and we've all kind of said that, and Alfred, or the conversation.
That's why it's a nice change from, because I feel like Batman is the token character that you're gonna make some deep story about and go into, you know, why he is the way he is or whatever. So it is a nice like breath of fresh air to have this the fun side of what Batman is.
Yeah. Hats off to Brian too, because the first thing I told my wife after I got done reading it is like, at no point in this book did I ever not hear Kevin Conroy's voice. Like Bendis wrote like the animated series Batman.
Yeah, I believe that too. Yeah, which is good. Like you can lay into that and build off of that. I think sometimes people don't like to do that, which is also fine. Cool. What about other things similar to this? Recommendations, things that you would tell someone who liked this to read? Maybe the best thing that these people also worked on?
Yeah, I would say like Tommy said, Ultimate Spider-Man is a real good one. This was kind of in your wheelhouse. It's kind of the same thing. It's a very fun book with a lot of good jokes, and then as far as like Nick's work, Doom Patrol, Gerard Way, it's also kind of wacky and zany. It's a little more hard to follow than like this.
I've started reading that.
Yeah. But it's you know, it's peak Darrington. And if you want to pick up all 12 issues of Mr. Miracle, he did the A covers.
Yeah, he did both covers.
What's Mr. Miracle you're talking about? What is this?
Never heard of it.
Heard of it. Anyone in the comments, have you heard of Mr. Miracle? Shout it out.
It won 3 Eisners, or Mitch alone won 3 Eisners for it?
I won
Anyways.
I wore a Taylor Swift shirt to the Eisners.
I know you did, because I saw you that day and I said, where did you get that shirt? Or you were busy, and I said to Mandy, ask him where you got that shirt. And her exact response from quoting you was TaylorSwift.com, duh.
Like, obviously.
So, felt a little schooled on that one. What about another Batman? If you liked this Batman, is there another Batman that you would recommend?
I don't read a lot of fun books. This is the problem.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I really like this book, is that it was just kind of a fun adventure, which we don't usually get with Batman.
I've seen a lot of people comment that it's like a more fun Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
The storytelling wise, I guess, is what they're comparing it to. Now, I don't know.
I think in that he teams up with someone.
The like various characters and things like that, I think is what they're pointing at. But yeah, I think something like anything by Gerard Way, I think, is quite weird and quirky and fun. Like Umbrella Academy is the same, where you're like, what the hell is going on? But it's kind of entertaining. I'm really
looking for
so you know this.
If you're looking for a Batman book near to this realm, I would go search out the old animated series Trades. Yeah, that series was really good. And often, same with the Superman adventures. They're both like incredible comics that get kind of overlooked because people think they're just adapting the TV show, but they were completely original stories.
Mm-hmm.
That was a Superman cartoon?
Oh, Superman Adventures. With the best Superman of all time.
I think that's all
Tim
I know
Daly.
on TV. When did it come out? Was it like the same time as Batman animated?
Either shortly after Batman the animated series, or they both.
I feel like it was Batman animated started, then Justice League Unlimited, then Superman, then Batman Beyond.
Superman was before Justice Unlimited. Superman Adventures is pretty old.
There you go.
I've
It was
ever in my life seen anything about that.
Tim Daly was Superman, and he was amazing.
The really bad N64 game was based on it.
Oh, that like famously bad, the one that's
Yeah.
like the worst video game of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw someone play that, and it looked like they wanted to die, so that was funny to watch. Wow. Cool. The one that I actually, while you guys were talking, I actually was thinking maybe Gwenpool. Because she doesn't take much very seriously. It's kind of like funny and like aware of itself, so it like pokes the mirror at itself. Plus there are a lot of cameos, so like within the first 5 issues I think you see Thor, Doctor Strange, MODOK, like you see a lot of people you recognize very quickly, and there is some like alternate universe kind of not timeline things going on. I wouldn't say it's anywhere really comparable, but if like those were the elements that you really liked, you might like Gwenpool. Otherwise, I would say it's really different. And then I agree with your guys' recommendations. Cool. So we are finishing up here. We do have a few more, or just one more question. If Superman Up in the Sky is just The Searchers starring Stoops instead of John Wayne, do you see any big cinematic inspirations on Bat's universe? I don't really. So John Wayne and The Searchers is like a Western movie, I assume. Like a Western.
Yeah. I would say, it's probably influenced by all the Batman movies. That's why big cinematic.
Yeah, like who can we compare it to? I mean, really, I think whoever said earlier that it feels almost like the 60s Batman show because of little action-y moments might be the cinematic inspiration for Batman universe. I didn't notice anything. I mean, obviously, when they were in the Western spot, I felt Westerns. And when they were in the whatever, it felt like whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know Western, so like my favorite Western is Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
Firefly, duh.
I guess it's more space to me. It's
a space Western, yeah.
I feel like this isn't cinematic, and as we were saying, it feels more like a TV show. So it's almost the opposite of cinematic. Everything's just kind of like there's no like grand scale to this besides just the general idea of adventure. So I would say the answer to that question is just there's nothing really cinematic about this, because I think that's the whole point. It's just kind of here's a little bit of this, here's a little bit of this, here's a little bit of this, and then the story ends, which I think is a strength given the circumstances being sold with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's almost a great way to sell the two. I haven't read Up in the Sky yet, so maybe I'll talk about this more next week. But yeah, you could sell Superman Up in the Sky as like to your friends that you're recommending and be like, if I'm giving you the choice between the two, would you rather TV show, episodic, fast-paced, or would you rather cinematic? It might work out that way. Cool. So that is our... So, yeah, Walmart? Yeah. So that was our last real question. Greg just mentioned when we were talking about Mr. Miracle, he said, Miracle Man? That's Seth Meyers' favorite comic. So that's like a nice little shout out and humor. So yeah, I think that is it for us this week. If you want to check out Mitch, he does have, I have your Instagram and your Twitter linked. Do you have anything else that we can send people to, Mitch?
Not really.
Comic shop.
Those are the two I update.
Cool. When's the next Strange Adventures out in comic book shops?
July
something.
I don't think it's this coming Wednesday or coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after.
The last one came out, I think it was June 16th 16th or 17th. So it makes sense to be about a month after that. So how Strange Adventures is doing their covers is that Mitch is doing one, and then the other, is it Doc?
Yep.
Is doing the other one, and they kind of are alternate versions of each other. So they go together really quite well. So definitely make sure you pick up that single issue because it has a really cool cover. But otherwise, you can get Mitch's work basically anywhere, digitally, Comixology, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Chapters, anywhere like that. Mr. Miracle is now collected in both a paperback and a hard copy version, as well as other work, Sheriff of Babylon, like I said, and a few other of his things. So just Google him and Google his books if you are interested. Mr. Miracle is one that we definitely talk about all the time. We definitely recommend. And so definitely check that out. Check out his links below. Our links are also down below. Like Mandy said at the beginning, if you're joining us later, hi, nice to see you. We do this every week. So if you want to join us live, check us out next Wednesday around this time. But we post the schedule on all of our social.
Did she freeze at the end?
I thought it was me. She's the only one that can turn us off.
She is the
Let's
only
make the image to a frozen.
I just froze. Oh my God. It did that right at the beginning and right at the end. So apologize for that little glitch, but I think we're all good. Last words?
Mandy, send us out.
Wear a mask and don't vote for Kanye.
That's,
Bye,
yeah,
guys.
that's good.
Cheers.